Welcome to Everything Pro Wrestling. Everything Pro Wrestling is a show by the fans, for the fans. And I am your host, Conrad Cushman, and we are here to talk about SummerSlam Fallout. All right, guys, I got my voice back and I'm ready to talk some pro wrestling. So let's talk about the SummerSlam Fallout. Now, when we look at everything that's been taking place after any of the big shows, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, WrestleMania, and the Royal Rumble, we can always wonder who's getting the call up from NXT. Well, after watching Raw and SmackDown, not one single person was called up, but I'm okay with it because the last time they called people up, I felt like they had no plans for any of them and they didn't know what they were going to do. So I'm cool with that. But let's first start off with Monday Night Raw and kind of recap everything that happened. We did see Roman Reigns come out. He is the new Universal Champion. Him and Finn Balor basically had a segment together where Roman Reigns basically he wanted to give a rematch to Finn Balor, the man who never lost the Universal Championship. They agreed, shook hands. So that's going to be your main event of the show. We get into some other matches that really didn't matter. I'm not going to get into stuff that wasn't important at all. Paul Heyman, we end up seeing Paul Heyman backstage in Kurt Angle's office, and he basically states that his client, Paul Heyman, wants his rematch for the Universal title, and he wants it at Hell in a Cell. Kurt Angle says it'll be a cold day in hell, or as they say in Brooklyn, forget about it, and Angle walks off. And whatever. So they're trying to keep Brock out, and maybe this is part of the reason he'll be written off. If you don't know, Brock Lesnar is going to the UFC. He looks like he's going to be fighting Daniel Cormier for his UFC World Heavyweight Championship, so that should make things pretty interesting. Well, we get backstage to Kurt Angle. Stephanie McMahon is there. They get into a little scuffle over words, and they're not happy with things. Angle's not giving people what they want, blah, 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 blah. And that's going to lead to something off later. We get to Michael Cole, who gives us a promo package for Triple H and The Undertaker, which we saw at SummerSlam. And in my opinion, that made no sense to have that at SummerSlam. This was something you could have saved easily for a Monday Night Raw or a SmackDown Live. Whatever. So WWE Super Showdown is going to be happening soon, and The Undertaker versus Triple H is one of the matches. And remember, Triple H is going to come out and do a promo about it. Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Ember Moon versus the Riot Squad. How many times do we have to see this match? It's the same matches over and over and over again. Part of the reason why Monday Night Raw is pretty boring. But we see the same matches, and I'm assuming that this is telling a story with Sasha Banks and Bayley, I would hope. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens. We get to the Riot Squad, they get the victory, and then Triple H comes out, he does the big pop, and this is where I thought we were going to possibly get an NXT debut, but instead we got Triple H promoting the Super Showdown show, and he talks about the WrestleMania 28 match with The Undertaker, and then basically gets the crowd hyped for it, saying, "One more time, dead man." Meh. Dean Ambrose makes his return to the ring, facing off against Dolph Ziggler. The match had an excellent finish where Dolph Ziggler went for that jumping DDT he always does. Ambrose catches him, throws him up in the air, and hits the Dirty Deeds on his way down. Perfect ending. Dean Ambrose, like I said, he's looking like he did a 6-month prison bid, and Ambrose is looking really good. Like he's been hitting the gym real hard. So good to see Dean Ambrose. And we'll talk about him later on because that's the main segment that I do want to talk about. Elias Kurt Hawkins. You know Kurt Hawkins lost again. He's like the new Brooklyn Brawler on Monday Night Raw. And that's with all due respect because I think Kurt Hawkins is very talented. He did a good job putting Elias over. So props to Kurt Hawkins for that. I think he'll always come out to Brooklyn for a pop because of his hard work. Authors of Pain, Titus Worldwide. They had a weird segment backstage, like Titus O'Neil interrupted something with Dana Brooke and Apollo Crews. I don't think that many people care. Authors of Pain win. And we're going to talk about... I'm skipping all the way to the main event, guys. Forget all the B team, go, go, go crap and everything else. Let's talk about Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns. For a Monday Night Raw main event, this was an incredible match. These guys went out there and put it all on the line. They had a good match. They had a good match when they first did the brand split, and they were the main event of I think it was for the Universal Championship tournament, if I'm not mistaken, before it was Seth and Finn Balor to decide who the first ever Universal Champion was going to be. I believe Finn Balor defeated Roman Reigns on that very first Raw, and that was an excellent match. Well, this match comes out very similar. In the end, Finn's up at the top going for the coup de grace. He rolls through after he misses it, and Roman Reigns comes with a ferocious spear. 1, 2, 3. Roman Reigns gets the win. After the match, Roman Reigns is basically waiting there, and Braun Strowman enters the ring, and he big boots Roman Reigns as soon as he gets up. The crowd is going nuts. Braun gives the briefcase to the referee. JoJo's making the announcement, and as Braun's waiting for Reigns to get up, you hear that classic music.
Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield.
That's right. The theme music of the Shield hit, and they came down to the ring to do what they do best. Kick ass. They came down and saved Roman Reigns' Universal Championship from being taken away from him by Braun Strowman. They came down to the ringside area. Something I didn't notice all night was the announcer's table was actually by ringside versus at the top of the stage on Raw. So they put a beat down on Braun Strowman and wound up putting him through the table, and the night ended with the Shield looking strong and dominant. Now, with this angle, guys, this is one that I would like to have some open discussion about, whether it's in one of my groups, social media, wherever. What do you guys think of this Shield angle? Is it a heel turn for Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose? I think to me that makes sense. And here's why. I'm going to set it up like this first. We're going to look at both sides of this. Roman Reigns needed help from Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, two guys who had nothing to do with this, had nothing to do with the situation, interfered in Braun Strowman cashing in. Who told you he was going to cash in after the fact, like a man, and fight you? And they basically went in and saved the day for Roman Reigns. It seems like a heel tactic, in my opinion. But on the other side of this, I see WWE trying to play this off as, oh, it's a brotherhood and we had to protect each other. We always swore to protect each other, and that's what we came out there to do. I don't know. I see it more as a heel angle. I would love for them to follow up and have some good storytelling out of this. I'm begging you, WWE. Please have some good storytelling out of this. But I want to hear from you guys on whatever platform you want to message me on. That's fine. But tell me, what do you think they're going to do with the Shield? How would you book it? Would you use them as faces? Would you use them as heels? Are they going to be together next week? Was this a one-time occurrence to get a pop from the crowd? I want to know what you guys think of it. So leave it down below and tell me what you think. And let's move on and talk about the blue brand, SmackDown Live. WWE is back in the Barclays Center for Tuesday Night SmackDown, and we're going to go over the show as well. So we get out there, and the show is opened up with The Miz and Maurice. Greg Hamilton does the introductions, and they show the footage of Maurice helping Miz get the win over Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam by cheating. Now, if you guys are wondering what my SummerSlam thoughts are on this match and everything else, there is a review on the YouTube page. You just type in Everything Pro Wrestling. Make sure to subscribe and check out the SummerSlam video. I'm a little hoarse in that one as well, so the voice is hurting a lot, but I still gave you guys your review, so hopefully you enjoy it. Back to SmackDown here. The Miz gets into the ring and basically makes fun of Daniel Bryan, acting like he's going to retire. We all know he's not. Bryan comes out and he basically yells coward at the Miz, and they get into this whole back and forth diatribe where Maurice tells Bryan to go away, you should have stayed retired, yada, yada, yada. Brie Bella comes out to the most cringe-worthy music. I like Brie Bella, but I hate that theme song so much. Brie comes out and she actually ends up punching Miz in the face, which was pretty cool. And Brian clotheslines him out of the ring, and easy for me to say, right? Clotheslines him out of the ring, and they basically run to the back, the usual WWE stuff. And this is going to eventually set up a match at Hell in a Cell where it's going to be Daniel Bryan and Brie versus The Miz and Maurice. And this should be an interesting match. I'm pretty happy to see it. Hopefully the girls are in there and they get to knock some ring rust off. And I have not seen Brie Bella or Maurice in the ring in quite some time. But The Miz and Daniel Bryan is the real part of this feud that everyone cares about. So it'll be interesting to see this. So we have our first match for Hell in the Cell all set up. Now, we get to Jeff Hardy doing his stuff backstage with his face paint. Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton. This was a pretty cool match. Randy Orton did the thing with the earlobe, began putting his fingers in there. I don't know what's up with this dude doing that. It's pretty creepy, but it's also a pretty good spot to show gruesome and how Randy Orton is a heel again. They wind up fighting over by the crew area where they have all the stuff set up, all their tech stuff for music, monitors, and everything else. And Jeff Hardy does a swanton bomb off the top through a table on Randy Orton, and he hit it perfectly. So kudos to Jeff Hardy for doing that. Much respect, because those spots are always cool. And if anyone from WWE 2K19 is out there listening, put something like that in the game because that's what fans want. And I thought it looked awesome. So very good. We are getting a promotion for the New Day versus the Bludgeon Brothers for the tag team titles after the disqualification on SummerSlam. We get a really okay kind of match with Peyton Royce and Naomi. I wasn't feeling the chemistry on this one. Peyton Royce picks up the win. Big E has his ribs taped up, and he's eating ribs during it. Actually, the ribs look really good, I'm not going to lie. And Kofi and Xavier are going to be the two going out there tonight because New Day wants to become the 5-time tag team champions tonight. We'll see if they can pull it off. They show us highlight packages from the women's triple threat, and this is going to lead into us talking about Becky Lynch. And I think this is one of the main pieces of conversation for this show. Becky Lynch becoming a heel on SummerSlam after turning on Charlotte, and is this going to work? So at first, I posed the first question to you about the Shield and how would you book it. Here's my second question. What do you do with Becky Lynch? I mean, in my opinion, out of all of this, Becky Lynch is justified in her actions. Becky Lynch did nothing wrong. Her friend Charlotte came back and tried to steal all the glory. Charlotte came in, won the championship. I get that she's not supposed to sit there and stand back, but what kind of friend jumps in when Becky had her moment to come in and take the spotlight? I can sympathize with Becky is what I'm saying. The question is that Becky Lynch tried to come out there and be a heel. And I don't know. I still feel like people like her. Like, I'm on her side in this one. And Charlotte's the person who I'm actually wanting to boo. So I don't know if they could set up a double turn and make it make sense or what. But I would have it where Charlotte Flair's the heel and Becky's the face, leading into Ronda Rousey facing a heel Charlotte at WrestleMania. To me, that seems like where the money is, and that's exactly what you should do. But I'm not sure on WWE's logic with this one. So I want to hear what you guys think. Becky Lynch, should she be a heel? Should they do a double turn? Do they get it right? I don't know. I want to just hear your thoughts on what they should do with Becky Lynch and Charlotte's situation. We had Rusev and Lana versus Cien Almas and Zelina Vega. This was the opposite of what we were used to seeing. Aiden English came out and saved the day. A Machka kick and stomped on Almas's back. And the accolade, Rusev and Lana pick up the victory. So good for them because it's Rusev Day and Lana's number one. I mean, these guys did an excellent job with it. I like their characters, and I think that it would mean more with Aiden English being with them, in my opinion. I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but that's just what I think. Shinsuke Nakamura talks about he is going to be the United States champion, and he's going to welcome us to basically like his era of the United States of Knock America, whatever that means. Probably nut shots for everybody. So still to come, we have a no DQ match for the SmackDown Tag Team titles, but we're going to see the WWE Champion AJ Styles, and he's coming out to speak. This show highlights from the WWE title match, and Samoa Joe was vicious at SummerSlam. Make sure you check out the review to hear everything with that. But they come out to a stage similar to how they used to have it set up in the 80s, where the stage is in the background or in front, and then the ring's in the background, kind of. I said that in reverse almost there. And you see behind AJ Styles the ring, everything set up, and you got Renee and him just there on a stage being interviewed. AJ's out there talking about his family, being the perfect baby face, and what happens is Samoa Joe comes out and he puts the beating on him, and Samoa Joe ends up choking out AJ Styles in the coquina clutch. Now, after that, Samoa Joe picks up the mic and basically yells to AJ's wife, Wendy, about tucking in the kids tonight, but daddy's already gone night-night. Samoa Joe is the man, and I think he needs a small run with the WWE Championship. Even if you want to give it back to AJ, let Joe get that belt for a little bit. The man is phenomenal, no pun intended. He's done his job, and he has really been great on the mic and in the ring. So I don't know what more you want from Samoa Joe. We get to basically a rerun of what happened earlier with The Miz, Maurice, Daniel Bryan, and Brie Bella, and they're hyping the tag match at Hell in a Cell. And we get to Paige, who is asking for a rematch. R-Truth in there talking about Carmella's been ducking him. Who knows why he's doing that stuff. But next week, Carmella gets her rematch against Charlotte Flair. So we'll see how that turns out next week. We get to a no DQ match for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. We are going to have The New Day versus the Bludgeon Brothers. But before we get into that match, let's go to my man Prophecy, who's going to tell you about his show and everything pro wrestling.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Prophecy from the Suplex Session Podcast, where I give my analysis on your weekly pro wrestling programming. Baby! Right now, you are listening to Everything Pro Wrestling with my good friend Conrad. Stay tuned.
All right, guys, we get into the main event of the show. And the main event for SmackDown Live was for the Tag Team Championships. It's a no DQ match with the New Day versus the Bludgeon Brothers. Now, representing the New Day were Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. As I said earlier, Big E's ribs were hurt, and he was eating some ribs, which looked very delicious. And we had the Bludgeon Brothers, Eric Rowan and Luke Harper on the other side. Now, going into this, there is a small caveat. Shout out to Robert Anderson, who pointed this out when we were watching SummerSlam. Eric Rowan appeared to have been injured during that. We have come to find out today that Eric Rowan is out with an injury sustained to his arm. And I remember Robert saying something happened to his arm during their match, and he was the only one who had noticed it. So big props to him for noticing that. And Eric Rowan must have wrestled this match with a torn bicep or a partial tear. It doesn't matter what it was. Eric Rowan, you never get enough credit from me for the wrestling ability that you have. So thank you, Eric Rowan, for putting that on the line for our entertainment. I greatly appreciate it, sir, and hopefully you weren't hurt any worse, and I wish you a speedy recovery. We get to the match, though, and this was a drag-out brawl. Like, everything was going on in this match. We'll get right to the finish here, though. Basically, Harper ends up slapping Rowan a couple times, and Rowan picks up one of those hammers that they used to get the DQ with, or the mallets, I should say. And he basically goes to crash into the ring apron to get Kofi. Woods pulls Kofi out of the way, and he goes crashing through the barricade as a way probably to write him off. So he's out, and Harper's back in the ring looking like he's ready to end Xavier Woods because they are beat down real bad. But Kofi comes in, makes a save, trouble in paradise. Kofi puts Harper on the table, and Woods goes to the top rope and nails his big elbow where he climbs the ropes and basically walks the ropes a couple steps and drops that big elbow on him. 1, 2, 3. The New Day are your new SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions. They celebrate as they go off the air. And you know what? A lot of people don't like the New Day. I'm a fan. I think all three of these guys are super talented, and I'm glad that they got a big push like they deserve. So good for the New Day. Very happy for you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to Everything Pro Wrestling. Without you guys, the show isn't possible, and I enjoy what I'm doing. I'm so happy to have my voice back, number one. I'm thankful for all of you guys who tuned in and listened to my NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4 review. I know that my voice sounded horrible on it, but I appreciate everyone who took time to listen to it. Make sure you guys do me a favor, and if you're not already, follow the YouTube page, type in Everything Pro Wrestling, and leave us a subscribe. We are trying to get to that 1K mark. The faster we do it, the better. So thank you so much for that. Also, make sure you give us a follow on Twitter at EPW Show. And last but not least, guys, if you want to ask me a question, make sure that you guys do it on the Anchor app. If you're using the Anchor app, leave me a message, and I can put it on my show. And if you guys have any questions like that or want to see a collaboration with anyone else, send me a message. I would be sure to listen to it. But this is Everything Pro Wrestling, and we are out until next week, guys. Peace.